Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the transport ship, watching as Harmony Prime grew larger in the viewport. The massive space station looked like a silver flower floating in the darkness of space, its arms stretched out in all directions, with docking bays that could hold ships from dozens of different worlds. This was supposed to be the most important day in human history. Sarah adjusted her dark blue diplomatic uniform and checked her appearance in the reflection of the window. Everything had to be perfect. The entire galaxy would be watching today. At least that's what everyone back on Earth believed. Sarah knew better. She had read the intercepted messages. She knew what was really waiting for them on that beautiful station. "Ambassador, we'll be docking in 15 minutes, Captain Rodriguez announced over the ship's communication system. "The delegation is ready for final briefing." Sarah walked through the corridors of their ship toward the main meeting room. The transport vessel was much smaller than the military ships Earth could build, but it was designed to look peaceful. No visible weapons, no armor plating, just a simple diplomatic vessel carrying humanity's representatives to sign the most important treaty in their species' history. In the meeting room, 23 other humans waited for her. They all wore similar diplomatic uniforms in various shades of blue and gray. Each person carried themselves with the proper dignity expected of Earth's finest diplomats and cultural representatives. Dr. Marcus Webb sat near the front, his thick glasses reflecting the light as he reviewed digital documents on his tablet. Cultural attaché Lisa Park smiled warmly as she organized traditional human gifts for their alien hosts. Security Chief Jake Morrison stood near the back wall, his hands clasped behind his back in a formal military posture. Anyone looking at this group would see exactly what they were supposed to see. 24 of Earth's most brilliant minds gathered together to represent humanity on the galactic stage. Diplomats, scientists, cultural experts, and a small security detail. A perfect picture of peaceful intentions. Sarah knew the truth was very different. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice calm and professional. "In 12 minutes we will dock with Harmony Prime. We all know why we're here, and we all know what we're really walking into." Dr. Webb removed his glasses and cleaned them, slowly. The communication intercepts were very clear. The Galactic Council has decided that humanity is too dangerous to join their civilization. Today's ceremony is designed to eliminate Earth's leadership in one coordinated strike. Lisa Park continued to smile, but her eyes became cold and calculating. The Zephyrians believe their crystalline forms make them superior to organic life. The collective thinks their hive mind gives them perfect coordination. The Vortek assume their military tradition makes them unbeatable in combat. Jake Morrison stepped forward slightly. "They're all wrong. They think because we're new to space travel that we're primitive. They think because we smile and shake hands that we're weak. They think because we want peace that we can't fight." Sarah nodded. "Every person in this room has trained for this exact scenario for the past 18 months. We knew this day would come. We knew they would try to eliminate us before we could become a threat to their control of the galaxy." The ship shuddered slightly as it approached the docking bay. Through the small windows they could see the interior of Harmony Prime. The station was enormous, with corridors that stretched for kilometers in every direction. Artificial gravity kept everything properly oriented, and the air would be breathable for most species in the galaxy. "Final equipment check," Sarah ordered. Each person in the room began their preparation routine. Dr. Webb's briefcase looked like it contained simple research documents and cultural data about Earth. Hidden inside were components that would assemble into something very different when the time came. His thick glasses contained sophisticated sensors that could detect energy signatures and structural weak points throughout the station. Lisa Park's ceremonial jewelry appeared to be traditional human craftsmanship, representing the peaceful nature of Earth culture. The necklace alone contained enough concentrated energy to cut through 3 meters of reinforced steel. Her earrings were tiny communication devices that could transmit through any known jamming technology. Jake Morrison's formal security uniform looked appropriate for a diplomatic mission. The fabric contained thousands of nanoscale armor plates that could deflect most energy weapons. His ceremonial sword was actually a high-frequency vibration blade, capable of cutting through virtually any material in the galaxy. Every person in the room carried similar hidden equipment. Weapons disguised as diplomatic gifts, armor woven into formal clothing, communication devices built into jewelry and accessories, scanning equipment hidden in personal items, medical supplies that could counteract most known alien toxins and biological weapons. But the most important equipment they carried was their training. Every person in this room was a veteran of Earth's most elite military units. They had trained in zero-gravity combat, hostile environment survival, and fighting against multiple alien species. They could operate as diplomats when necessary, but they were soldiers first. Docking in 3 minutes, Captain Rodriguez announced. Sarah walked to the center of the room. Remember, they expect us to be naive and helpless. They think humans are too trusting and peaceful to survive in their galaxy. Let them believe that for as long as possible. Dr. Webb put his glasses back on and smiled. It will be interesting to see their faces when they realize their mistake. The ship connected to the docking bay with a soft thud. Mechanical systems engaged, creating an airtight seal between the human vessel and the alien station. Atmospheric readings showed that the air inside Harmony Prime was safe for humans to breathe, exactly as promised. Delegation, prepare for departure, Jake Morrison announced in his official security voice. Sarah led the group toward the airlock. Each person fell into their assigned position, creating the perfect image of a peaceful diplomatic mission. Sarah walked with the confidence of someone representing her entire species. Dr. Webb carried his briefcase and looked around with the curiosity of a scientist seeing alien technology for the first time. Lisa Park smiled warmly and held a container of traditional human gifts. The airlock opened and they stepped onto Harmony Prime. The reception area was magnificent. The ceiling stretched high above them, with windows that showed the stars beyond. Alien architecture created sweeping curves and elegant lines that no human building could match. The floor was made of some kind of crystal that seemed to glow with its own internal light. 3 groups of aliens waited to greet them. The Zephyrians stood to the right, their crystalline bodies reflecting light in beautiful patterns. They were tall and elegant, with forms that looked like living sculptures made of clear and colored glass. Their leader, Council Member Veltar, stepped forward with movements that seemed to flow like water. The collective representatives waited in the center. They looked like humans in basic shape, but their skin had a metallic sheen, and their eyes glowed with a soft blue light. They moved in perfect coordination, each member knowing exactly what the others would do before they did it. Their spokesperson, Unit 7 Prime, watched the humans with mechanical precision. The Vortak delegation occupied the left side of the reception area. They were large and muscular, with thick gray skin and prominent bone ridges along their skulls. They wore military uniforms decorated with medals and honors from countless battles. War Leader Thakmor stood with his arms crossed, studying the humans like a predator evaluating prey. "Welcome to Harmony Prime," Veltar said, his voice sounding like musical chimes. "We are honored to witness this historic moment when humanity joins the galactic community." Sarah stepped forward and bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that had been carefully calculated to appear humble while maintaining dignity. "Thank you for this opportunity. Earth is eager to begin peaceful cooperation with all civilized species." Unit 7 Prime spoke next, its voice perfectly synchronized with the other collective members. "The peace treaty represents a new era of cooperation and understanding between our peoples. We trust you will find the terms acceptable." War Leader Thakmor grunted. "You humans are smaller than I expected. Your species must be very peaceful to have survived without significant military development." Jake Morrison stepped forward slightly. "Humanity has always preferred diplomacy to warfare. We believe that intelligent species can resolve their differences through discussion and compromise." The aliens exchanged glances that they thought the humans couldn't interpret. But Sarah's team had studied alien body language for months. They could read the silent communication between their hosts. The Zephyrians were pleased that the humans seemed appropriately respectful. The collective was satisfied that their plan was proceeding as calculated. The Vortak were confident that these weak creatures would be easy to eliminate. "Please follow us to the ceremonial chamber," Veltar announced. The signing ceremony will begin shortly. The human delegation followed their alien hosts through the corridors of Harmony Prime. The station was even more impressive from the inside. Advanced technology was built into every surface, creating an environment that could support dozens of different alien species simultaneously. Gravity remained constant, the air was perfectly filtered, and the temperature was comfortable for everyone. Dr. Webb looked around with apparent wonder, asking innocent questions about the station's construction and technology. His questions seemed naive, but they were actually gathering crucial intelligence about defensive systems and structural weaknesses. Lisa Park complimented the aliens on their beautiful station and asked about their different cultures. Her friendly conversation was mapping the command structure and identifying which aliens were really in charge of the operation. Jake Morrison walked silently behind the group, apparently just doing his job as security chief. In reality, he was counting guards, identifying weapon emplacements, and planning escape routes. As they walked deeper into the station, Sarah noticed several things that confirmed their intelligence reports. There were too many security guards for a simple diplomatic ceremony. The guards were positioned to block exits rather than provide protection. The corridors they were taking led toward the center of the station, away from the docking bays and escape routes. Everything was proceeding exactly as their intercepted communications had predicted. They reached the ceremonial chamber, a large, circular room with a dome-shaped ceiling that showed a holographic display of stars and planets. A large table sat in the center with the peace treaty document displayed on its surface. Chairs were arranged around the table for all the delegates. "Please, take your seats," Unit 7 Prime instructed. "We will begin the ceremony in a few moments." The humans sat down in their assigned positions. Sarah noticed that their chairs were positioned in the exact center of the room, while the alien delegates sat closer to the walls. Dr. Webb adjusted his glasses and smiled pleasantly. Lisa Park arranged her gifts on the table. Jake Morrison stood behind Sarah's chair in the traditional position for a security escort. Veltar activated a holographic display that showed the text of the peace treaty. "This document represents months of careful negotiation between our species. It establishes the framework for peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit." Sarah read through the treaty text, knowing that most of it was meaningless. The real purpose of this meeting had nothing to do with diplomacy or cooperation. But she maintained her diplomatic expression and nodded appropriately at key points. "The treaty seems comprehensive and fair," she said. "Earth is ready to sign and begin this new relationship." War Leader Thakmor stood up. "Before we proceed, there is one final matter to address. Our security protocols require that all weapons be secured before the signing ceremony begins." Jake Morrison looked surprised. "Of course, I carry only a ceremonial sword as befits my position. It represents honor and tradition rather than any threat." "We appreciate your cooperation," Thakmor replied. "However, our scans indicate that your delegation carries several items that could potentially be used as weapons." Sarah felt her heart rate increase slightly, but she kept her expression calm. "I'm afraid I don't understand. We carry only traditional diplomatic gifts and cultural items. The aliens were making their move earlier than expected, but the human team was ready." Veltar's crystalline form began to glow more brightly. "Perhaps there has been a misunderstanding. We simply want to ensure everyone's safety during this historic ceremony." Unit 7 Prime's eyes flickered. "Our scans are quite thorough. We can detect even the smallest potentially dangerous items." Sarah stood up slowly, her hands visible and empty. "Gentlemen, I assure you that Earth's delegation carries nothing that could threaten this ceremony or anyone present. We came here, in good faith, to sign a peace treaty." She looked directly at each alien leader in turn. "Unless, of course, you believe there is some reason why we might need protection." The moment of truth had arrived. The aliens had to decide whether to continue the pretense or reveal their true intentions. Sarah could see the calculation in their eyes as they realized the humans might not be as naive as they had hoped. But they had come too far to turn back. "Now," War Leader Thakmor stepped forward. "I'm afraid there has been a change of plans." The ceremonial chamber fell silent as War Leader Thakmor's words hung in the air. Sarah Chen maintained her diplomatic composure, but every muscle in her body was ready for action. Around the table, her team continued to play their roles perfectly, even as the situation began to spiral toward violence. "Change of plans?" Dr. Webb asked, adjusting his glasses with what appeared to be nervous energy. "I'm afraid I don't understand. Has there been some problem with the treaty negotiations?" Veltar's crystalline form pulsed with a cold blue light. "Dr. Webb, your species has been under observation for much longer than you realize. The Galactic Council has been monitoring Earth's development since your people first achieved spaceflight." Unit 7 Prime stepped closer to the table, its metallic features reflecting the holographic display of the treaty. "Our analysis indicates that humanity possesses certain characteristics that make integration into galactic civilization problematic." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine, but not from fear. This was exactly what their intelligence had predicted. The aliens were about to reveal their true purpose. "What characteristics are those?" she asked, keeping her voice steady and professional. War Leader Thakmor began walking around the table, circling the human delegation like a predator. "Aggression, unpredictability, and a disturbing tendency toward violence when threatened. Your species has fought wars continuously throughout its history. Most species go through a period of internal conflict before achieving space travel," Lisa Park said with a warm smile. "Surely that's not unusual in galactic history." The collective representative tilted its head slightly. "Most species learn to control their violent impulses before developing interstellar capabilities. Humanity has done the opposite. Your weapons, technology has advanced faster than your social development." Dr. Webb leaned forward with apparent interest. "That's a fascinating observation. Could you provide specific examples of how our development differs from other species?" Veltar moved to a control panel near the wall. "Humans have developed over 400 different ways to kill members of their own species. You have created weapons capable of destroying entire planets. Most disturbing of all, you continue to improve these weapons even during periods of peace." Sarah could see where this conversation was heading. The aliens had clearly spent considerable time studying humanity, but they had reached completely wrong conclusions about what they had observed. "I think there may be some misunderstanding about human nature. Yes, we have had conflicts in our past, but we've also demonstrated a remarkable capacity for cooperation and peaceful problem-solving." War Leader Thakmor stopped directly behind Jake Morrison's chair. "Your security chief here, for example. Our scans indicate he has killed over 60 intelligent beings during his military career." Jake turned slightly to look at the Vortak leader. "I served my people during wartime, protecting them from those who would harm innocent civilians. Every action I took was in defense of others." "Precisely our point," Unit 7 Prime said. "Humans view violence as an acceptable solution to problems. This makes your species incompatible with civilized galactic society." The aliens were making a fundamental error in their analysis, Sarah realized. They saw humanity's capacity for violence as a character flaw, when in reality it was one of their greatest strengths. The ability to fight when necessary had allowed humans to survive and thrive in a hostile universe. "So what exactly are you proposing?" Sarah asked. "If you believe humanity is too dangerous for galactic civilization, why did you invite us here to sign a peace treaty?" Veltar's hand moved to the control panel. "The peace treaty was never intended to welcome humanity into our community. It was designed to serve a very different purpose." The lights in the ceremonial chamber suddenly changed from warm white to harsh red. Warning alarms began sounding throughout the station. The holographic display of stars and planets disappeared, replaced by tactical readouts and weapon status indicators. "Security lockdown initiated," an automated voice announced. "All personnel remain in designated areas until further notice." Sarah felt the floor vibrate slightly as massive blast doors sealed the entrances to the chamber. The elegant ceremonial room had just become a prison, but she continued to maintain her diplomatic facade. "This seems like an extreme response to a simple misunderstanding. Surely we can discuss any concerns you have about humanity in a more civilized manner, War Leader." Thakmor laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the chamber walls. "There will be no discussion. The Galactic Council has already reached its decision. Humanity will not be permitted to spread beyond your home system. You're planning to destroy Earth, Dr. Webb said quietly. It wasn't a question. Unit 7 Prime nodded. Your home planet will be rendered uninhabitable. Your colonies will be eliminated. Your species will become extinct within the next few hours. Lisa Park's smile finally faded. And you brought us here to watch it happen. Veltar activated another control. The chamber's dome ceiling became transparent, revealing the space around Harmony Prime. Hundreds of alien warships hung in the darkness, their weapon systems already charging for an attack on Earth. We wanted your leaders to understand why this action was necessary, the Zephyrian explained. Your people need to know that their extinction is not the result of random cruelty, but a carefully considered decision made for the greater good of all civilized species. Jake Morrison stood up slowly, his hand moving instinctively toward his ceremonial sword. Immediately, dozens of weapon targeting systems activated throughout the chamber, all focused on the human delegation. I wouldn't recommend any sudden movements, War Leader Thakmor warned. This chamber is equipped with automated defense systems that will respond to any perceived threat. Sarah looked around the room, taking inventory of their situation. They were trapped in a sealed chamber, surrounded by hostile aliens, with enough firepower pointed at them to reduce their entire delegation to atoms. By any reasonable military assessment, their position was hopeless, which was exactly how they had planned it. Before you proceed with this genocide, Sarah said calmly, I'm curious about one thing. How long have you been planning this operation? Veltar seemed pleased to explain their carefully crafted strategy. The initial decision was made 18 months ago, shortly after we detected your first attempts at faster-than-light communication. We realized that any species capable of developing such technology so quickly would eventually become a threat to galactic stability. The coordination required considerable effort, Unit 7 Prime added. 3 major galactic powers working together toward a common goal is unprecedented in our history. War Leader Thakmor gestured toward the fleet visible through the dome. We assembled the largest combined military force in galactic history, over 3,000 ships, representing the finest technology from all our civilizations. Dr. Webb nodded thoughtfully. Impressive. You've clearly put a great deal of planning into this operation. Every detail has been considered, Veltar confirmed. We even studied your diplomatic protocols to ensure this meeting would proceed exactly as expected. Humans are remarkably predictable once you understand their basic psychological patterns. Sarah felt a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. Predictable? Yes, I suppose we are. The artificial gravity in the chamber suddenly shifted, becoming noticeably heavier. The aliens had activated the station's gravity manipulation systems, designed to make it difficult for the humans to move quickly or coordinate any resistance efforts. This is a gravity level approximately 3 times what your species evolved under, War Leader Thakmor explained. It should be sufficient to incapacitate you without causing immediate death. We want you to remain conscious to witness the destruction of your homeworld. Lisa Park struggled to remain upright under the increased gravitational force. How thoughtful of you to provide such considerate accommodations for your prisoners. The air circulation system began introducing a subtle chemical agent into the chamber's atmosphere. It was designed to gradually weaken the humans without killing them outright. Another refinement to ensure they could observe their species' extinction, while being unable to take any action to prevent it. You aliens certainly know how to throw a party, Jake Morrison commented, his breathing becoming slightly labored from the combination of heavy gravity and toxic atmosphere. Unit 7 Prime's eyes flickered with what might have been amusement. We found that humans have a tendency toward sarcasm and humor even in hopeless situations. This psychological trait was noted in our behavioral analysis. Dr. Webb coughed slightly as the chemical agents began affecting his respiratory system. I have to admit, this is all very thorough. You've clearly anticipated every possible human response to this situation. Almost every response, Sarah said softly. Veltar leaned forward. What did you say? Sarah looked directly at the Zephyrian leader, and for the first time since entering the chamber, She allowed her true expression to show. Gone was the diplomatic smile and respectful demeanor. In its place was something cold and calculating that made the crystalline alien take a step backward. I said you've anticipated almost every possible human response, but not all of them. War Leader Thakmor moved closer to the human delegation. Explain. You studied our history, our psychology, our technology, and our diplomatic protocols. You identified our tendency toward violence and our unpredictable nature. You even predicted that we would attempt to bring weapons to a peace treaty. Sarah's voice remained calm and steady despite the toxic atmosphere and crushing gravity. All correct assessments, Unit 7 Prime confirmed. But you made one critical error in your analysis, Dr. Webb said, his voice becoming stronger rather, then weaker despite the hostile environment. Impossible, Veltar stated. Our intelligence gathering was exhaustive. We monitored your communications, studied your military capabilities, and analyzed your cultural patterns for over a year. Lisa Park's warm smile returned, but now it carried an edge that none of the aliens had seen before. You assumed that because we came here knowing it was a trap, we must be either incredibly naive or completely desperate. Jake Morrison straightened, up under the heavy gravity as if it were having no effect on him at all. You never considered a third possibility. Which is? War Leader Thakmor demanded. Sarah stood up from her chair, moving with perfect ease despite the gravitational force that should have been crushing her. The toxic atmosphere that should have been weakening her seemed to be having no effect whatsoever. That we came here, knowing it was a trap, knowing you planned to kill us, knowing you intended to destroy Earth, and we came anyway because we wanted to be here. The aliens exchanged uncertain glances. This was not proceeding according to their carefully calculated plan. That's impossible, Veltar said. No species would willingly walk into their own extinction. Dr. Webb removed his glasses and cleaned them carefully, his movements casual and relaxed. You're absolutely right. No species would willingly walk into their own extinction. He put his glasses back on and looked directly at the alien leaders. But we're not walking into our extinction. We're walking into yours. Unit 7 Prime's eyes flickered rapidly as it processed this unexpected statement. Clarification requested. You are outnumbered 3,000 to 1. You are trapped in a sealed chamber with no weapons. Your entire species faces imminent destruction. Lisa Park laughed, a sound that somehow seemed more threatening than any weapon. Oh, we have weapons. We just haven't used them yet. The chambers. Automated defense systems suddenly detected multiple energy signatures from the human delegation. Alarms began blaring as the station's computers tried to analyze threats that shouldn't exist. Impossible, War Leader Thakmor growled. Our scans detected no weapons. Our sensors would have identified any dangerous technology. Jake Morrison reached for his ceremonial sword. Instantly, every automated weapon in the chamber targeted him. But instead of cutting him down with energy beams, the weapons simply clicked empty. Their targeting systems flickered and died. Your sensors did detect our weapons, he said calmly. Every single one of them. But you made the same mistake that every enemy makes when they fight humans. Sarah stepped forward, and the aliens could see that she was completely unaffected by the hostile environment they had created. You assumed that because you understood our technology, you could defeat it. The gravitational manipulation system began fluctuating wildly. The toxic atmosphere circulation reversed, clearing the air in the chamber. Emergency lighting activated as the station's main power systems began experiencing cascading failures. You forgot the most important thing about human weapons, Dr. Webb said as he opened his briefcase. What's that? Veltar whispered. Sarah smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression any of the aliens had ever seen. They're designed by humans. Dr. Marcus Webb's briefcase made a soft clicking sound as hidden mechanisms activated. The simple diplomatic container unfolded like a complex puzzle box, revealing components that shouldn't have been able to fit inside such a small space. Metal, pieces extended and connected with precise mechanical movements, assembling themselves into a weapon that defied everything the aliens thought they knew about human technology. Dimensional compression storage, Dr. Webb explained conversationally, as his briefcase transformed into a sleek plasma rifle. "We've been working on it for about 6 months now. Amazing what you can accomplish when your entire species is motivated by the knowledge that someone is planning to kill them." War leader Thakmor stepped backward, his massive frame suddenly seeming small and vulnerable. "That's impossible. Our intelligence reports indicated that humans haven't developed dimensional manipulation technology." Sarah Chen's diplomatic uniform began to shimmer and shift as hidden nano-components activated. The fabric hardened into form-fitting armor that covered her entire body, while heads-up displays activated in her eyes and targeting systems came online. "Your intelligence reports were absolutely correct," she said, her voice now carrying a slight electronic enhancement from the armor's communication systems. 6 months ago, humans had no dimensional manipulation technology, but you made a critical error in your planning." Lisa Park's ceremonial jewelry was glowing now, each piece transforming from simple cultural artifacts into sophisticated pieces of military equipment. Her necklace extended into a molecular disruptor that hummed with barely contained energy. Her earrings projected a holographic tactical display that showed the entire layout of Harmony Prime, including the positions of every alien guard and defensive system. "You gave us 18 months to prepare for this meeting," Lisa said sweetly. 18 months to develop new technology specifically designed to counter everything you might use against us. The automated defense systems in the chamber were sparking and smoking now, their targeting computers overwhelmed by sensor readings that made no sense. The weapons that should have been cutting down the human delegation were instead destroying themselves as their internal systems tried to process impossible data. Jake Morrison's ceremonial sword finished its transformation into a high-frequency vibration blade. The elegant ceremonial weapon now looked like something from humanity's darkest nightmares, designed specifically to cut through alien armor and defensive barriers. "Every piece of equipment we brought here was designed to defeat specific alien technologies," he explained, testing the balance of his transformed weapon. "Your crystal-based energy shields, your hive-mind communication networks, your quantum-locked armor systems. We studied them all." Unit 7 Prime's eyes were flickering rapidly now, trying to process information that contradicted every calculation it had made. This level of technological advancement should have been detected by our surveillance systems. Our monitoring of Earth communications showed no indication of such rapid development. Dr. Webb adjusted his glasses, which Sarah now realized were much more than simple vision correction devices. The lenses were scanning the aliens and the chamber, analyzing weak points and tactical opportunities with inhuman precision. "That's because we developed all of this technology using completely analog systems," he said. "No digital communications, no computer networks, no electronic signatures that your sensors could detect. Everything was designed and built using old-fashioned human ingenuity and physical engineering." The chamber's blast doors, which had sealed them inside this trap, began to groan and buckle. Hairline cracks appeared in the reinforced alien metal as something began cutting through from the outside. Veltar's crystalline form was pulsing with rapid, panicked light patterns. "There are no other humans on this station. Our security systems would have detected any additional personnel." "You're absolutely right," Sarah confirmed. "There are no other humans on this station." The blast doors exploded inward, revealing a smoking hole that had been cut through 3 meters of reinforced metal. But instead of rescue troops, a small mechanical device floated through the opening. It was roughly spherical, covered in sensors and manipulator arms, clearly of human construction. "Meet our new friends," Lisa Park said proudly. "Autonomous engineering drones. We launched about 200 of them from our ship the moment we docked." Jake Morrison's tactical display lit up with contact markers throughout the station. "They've been crawling through your maintenance shafts and service tunnels for the past 30 minutes, mapping your systems and identifying critical vulnerabilities." The little drone that had entered the chamber extended a communication antenna and projected a holographic message. It was Captain Rodriguez from their transport ship, but he was no longer wearing a simple pilot's uniform. Instead, he was dressed in full military combat gear, standing on what appeared to be a ship's bridge that looked nothing like the peaceful transport vessel that had brought them here. "Ambassador Chen, we have successfully infiltrated all primary systems on Harmony Prime. Engineering teams are standing by for your orders. War Leader Thakmore's face darkened with rage and confusion. Your transport ship was scanned thoroughly before docking. It showed no weapons, no military equipment, no hidden capabilities. Sarah smiled. That's because it wasn't hiding anything. The ship you scanned really was exactly what it appeared to be. A simple diplomatic transport with no weapons or military systems. Dr. Webb connected his plasma rifle to a power source that materialized from his uniform. The ship you didn't scan was the one hiding directly underneath it, using adaptive camouflage to match our transport's energy signature exactly. The holographic projection of Captain Rodriguez expanded to show the bridge around him. It was clearly a military command center, with weapon controls, tactical displays, and crew members in full combat armor. The diplomatic transport was a decoy, he explained. Our real ship is a prototype stealth destroyer, designed specifically for this mission. We've been attached to your station's hull since the moment we arrived. Unit 7 Prime processed this information with visible distress. Stealth technology of that sophistication should be impossible for a species that only achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago. Lisa Park's molecular disruptor began charging with a high-pitched whine. You keep saying things should be impossible for humans. You might want to reconsider your assumptions about what humans can accomplish when we're properly motivated. The Chamber's environmental systems completely shut down as the autonomous drones reached critical control nodes throughout the station. Emergency lighting flickered on and off as power systems fluctuated wildly. You see? Sarah explained, walking slowly toward the alien leaders. You made the same mistake that every enemy of humanity has made throughout our history. You assumed that because you understood our current capabilities, you could predict our future capabilities. Jake Morrison moved to flank the aliens, his vibration blade humming with lethal energy. Humans don't just adapt to threats. We evolve to counter them. You gave us a specific challenge and we developed specific solutions. Dr. Webb aimed his plasma rifle at the chamber's main control panel. For example, you used gravity manipulation to try to incapacitate us, so we developed personal gravity compensators built into our armor systems. He fired once, and the control panel exploded in a shower of sparks. The crushing gravitational force in the chamber immediately returned to normal levels. You used atmospheric toxins to weaken us, Lisa Park continued. So we developed biological filters that convert your poison into breathable air. She activated a control on her disruptor, and the air in the chamber began clearing rapidly as her equipment processed and neutralized the alien toxins. You sealed us in this chamber to prevent escape, Sarah added. So we brought our own door. The autonomous drone that had cut through the blast doors was joined by several others, each one carrying different tools and equipment. They began setting up what appeared to be a portable command center right there in the ceremonial chamber. Beltar backed against the wall, his crystalline form now pulsing with fear rather than confidence. This is impossible. No species develops this rapidly. Evolution doesn't work that way. Evolution doesn't, Jake Morrison agreed. But engineering does, and humans are very good engineers. Captain Rodriguez's holographic image updated to show tactical displays of the entire station. Ambassador, we have control of primary power, life support, communications, and navigation systems. The alien fleet is still positioned for their attack on Earth, but they don't know we're here yet. Sarah nodded. Excellent work, Captain. Initiate Phase 2. War Leader Thakmore tried to activate an emergency communicator, but his device sparked and died as soon as he touched it. What is Phase 2? Dr. Webb reloaded his plasma rifle with ammunition that definitely hadn't been in his briefcase when they arrived. Phase 2 is where we deal with your fleet. Through the transparent dome ceiling, the aliens could see their carefully positioned warships beginning to move in unexpected ways. Ships that should have been maintaining formation were drifting out of position. Weapon systems that should have been charging for an attack on Earth were powering down instead. Our drones didn't just infiltrate Harmony Prime, Lisa Park explained, cheerfully. While you were so focused on scanning our little diplomatic transport, they were launching themselves toward every ship in your fleet. Unit 7 Prime's eyes flickered frantically as it tried to contact the collective fleet commanders. Communication with fleet assets has been terminated. All command and control networks are non-responsive. Sarah walked over to the alien SCI-FI communication console and placed her hand on the control surface. Her armor interfaced directly with the alien technology, giving her access to systems that should have been completely incompatible with human equipment. Amazing how much you can accomplish with 18 months of preparation and the absolute certainty that someone is trying to kill you, she mused as alien technical readouts scrolled across her heads-up display. Jake Morrison positioned himself between the alien leaders and the chamber's secondary exits, effectively trapping them in their own prison. The beautiful thing about human engineering is that we don't just build weapons. We build weapons that build other weapons. On the tactical displays, the alien fleet was clearly in trouble. Ships were reporting system failures, navigation errors, and weapons malfunctions. What had been the most powerful military force in galactic history was rapidly becoming a collection of helpless vessels drifting in space. Each drone that reached your ships carried fabrication equipment, Dr. Webb explained. They've been building additional drones inside your ships for the past 20 minutes. Your security systems couldn't detect them because they're growing rather than being assembled. Veltar's crystalline structure was beginning to crack under stress. Growing? What do you mean, growing? Biological engineering, Sarah said simply. We took lessons from every species we've encountered. Crystal growth from the Zephyrians, hive coordination from the Collective, pack hunting strategies from the Vortak. Then we improved on all of them. The chamber filled with soft mechanical sounds as more autonomous drones entered through the blasted doorway. These were different from the first ones, clearly designed for specific tasks related to subduing alien technology and personnel. The drones on your ships aren't just sabotaging your systems, Lisa Park continued. They're learning how your technology works, copying your most advanced capabilities and transmitting that information back to Earth. Captain Rodriguez's image updated again. Ambassador, we now have complete technical specifications for Zephyrian energy manipulation, collective quantum computing, and Vortak defensive systems. Our engineering teams estimate they can integrate these technologies into human systems within 6 months. War leader Thakmor slumped against the wall, his military bearing finally broken. You're not just defeating us, you're stealing our technology. Jake Morrison nodded approvingly. Now you're starting to understand how humans actually work. Unit 7 Prime made one last attempt to contact its fleet. This cannot be happening. The Collective has planned for every possible scenario. No, Sarah corrected. You planned for every scenario you could imagine, but you're not human. You don't think like humans. You can't predict what humans will do because you fundamentally don't understand what humans are. Dr. Webb walked over to the alien leaders, his weapon trained on them but his expression almost sympathetic. You saw our history of warfare and concluded that we were dangerously violent. You were right about the dangerous part but wrong about the violence. We're not violent, Lisa Park explained. We're adaptive. We fight when we have to, but only when we have to, and only until the threat is eliminated. The problem, Sarah continued, is that you decided to threaten not just us, but our entire species, our families, our children, our future. You made it personal. Through the dome ceiling, they could see the alien fleet beginning to break apart, not from weapons fire, but from internal system failures as the human drones completed their work. Ships that had taken decades to build were being systematically disabled by machines no larger than a human fist. So we did what humans do when someone threatens our family, Jake Morrison said quietly. We figured out how to win. Veltar made a sound like breaking glass. This was supposed to be impossible. Our analysis showed that you couldn't possibly have developed these capabilities. Your analysis was correct, Sarah admitted. 6 months ago, this would have been impossible. But you forgot something important about humans. She gestured toward the tactical displays showing the destroyed alien fleet. We don't stay impossible for very long. The silence in the ceremonial chamber was broken only by the soft humming of human technology and the distant sounds of systems failing throughout Harmony Prime. The 3 alien leaders stood against the wall, their carefully planned trap having become their own prison. Sarah Chen studied the tactical displays with professional interest, watching as the largest military fleet in galactic history was systematically disabled by machines small enough to fit in her pocket. "Captain Rodriguez," she said to the holographic projection, "what's the status of the alien command structure?" The image of the ship's captain updated to show a broader view of the stealth destroyer's bridge. Sarah could see dozens of crew members working at stations that definitely hadn't existed on the simple transport ship the aliens had scanned. "All fleet admirals are requesting immediate communication with their respective command authorities," Captain Rodriguez reported. "Ship-to-ship coordination has been completely disrupted. Most vessels are operating on emergency power only." Dr. Webb kept his plasma rifle trained on the alien leaders while monitoring data streams from his glasses. "The interesting thing about your fleet composition is how dependent it was on centralized command and control. Very efficient for coordinated attacks, but remarkably vulnerable to systemic disruption." War leader Thakmor tried once more to activate his personal communicator, but the device remained dead. "How did you penetrate our quantum encrypted communications?" "That technology has never been compromised." Lisa Park smiled brightly, her molecular disruptor still humming with contained energy. "We didn't penetrate your communications, we replaced them." She gestured to one of the autonomous drones, which projected a holographic display showing the interior of a Vortak battleship. Human-designed organisms were visible throughout the ship's corridors, resembling a cross between mechanical devices and living creatures. "Our biological drones didn't just disable your systems," she explained. "They integrated with them. Your ships are still receiving communications, but now those communications are coming from us instead of your fleet commanders." Unit 7 Prime's eyes flickered rapidly as it processed this information. Biological technology integration should be impossible without detailed knowledge of our biomechanical interfaces. Jake Morrison adjusted his grip on his vibration blade. "You spent 18 months studying humanity. Did you really think we weren't studying you at the same time?" Sarah walked over to the chamber's main communication console, her armor interfacing seamlessly with the alien technology. "Every diplomatic contact, every cultural exchange, every piece of information you shared about your civilizations, we analyzed all of it." The tactical display expanded to show not just Harmony Prime and the surrounding fleet, but star maps covering dozens of star systems. Red markers indicated Zephyrian worlds, blue showed collective territories, and gray marked Vortak military installations. "We know the location of every major military base, every shipyard, every command center in your territories," Dr. Webb said conversationally. "Our drones have been busy while we've been talking." Beltar's crystalline form was now shot through with stress fractures. "That's impossible. You've been here for less than an hour." "Our drones have been active for much longer than that," Sarah corrected. "We launched the first wave the moment our intelligence services intercepted your communications about this meeting. They've had 6 weeks to reach your home systems." Captain Rodriguez's holographic image updated to show a galaxy-wide tactical map. Thousands of tiny contacts were visible throughout alien space, each one representing a human drone that had infiltrated critical infrastructure. "The beautiful thing about biological engineering," Lisa Park continued, "is that it's self-replicating. Each drone that reaches a target can produce dozens more using local materials." War leader Thakmor's military bearing finally cracked completely. "You're talking about an invasion force of trillions of microscopic weapons." "Not weapons, Jake," Morrison corrected. "Tools. The question is what we choose to do with them." Sarah turned away from the communication console to face the alien leaders directly. "That brings us to an interesting point. You brought us here planning to commit genocide against humanity. You assembled the largest fleet in galactic history to destroy our homeworld and eliminate our species." Unit 7 Prime's metallic features showed no emotion, but its voice carried a note of uncertainty. "Our analysis indicated that humanity posed an unacceptable threat to galactic stability." "Your analysis was wrong," Dr. Webb said simply. "Humans aren't a threat to galactic stability. We're a threat to galactic stagnation." The holographic displays around the chamber shifted to show historical data about the three alien civilizations, population figures, technological development rates, territorial expansion patterns, and military conflicts over the past 1,000 years. The Zephyrians achieved interstellar flight 8,000 years ago, Sarah read from the data. Since then, your technology has advanced approximately 12%. Your population has grown by less than 5%. Your territory has expanded to include exactly 4 additional star systems. Veltar's light patterns shifted to what Sarah now recognized as defensive anger. The Zephyrian civilization values stability and perfection. We do not pursue change for its own sake. The collective has existed for 4,000 years, Lisa Park continued. In that time, you've achieved perfect unity of thought and purpose. You've also stopped innovating entirely. Every collective world is identical to every other collective world. Unit 7 Prime's response was predictably mechanical. Uniformity eliminates conflict and inefficiency. The collective has achieved optimal resource allocation and social harmony. Jake Morrison gestured toward the Vortak leader. The Vortak have been fighting the same 3 border conflicts for over 2 millennia. Your military tactics haven't changed in 1,500 years. Your weapons technology is essentially identical to what your ancestors used 1,000 years. Go. War leader. Thakmor's face darkened. Vortak military doctrine has been perfected through centuries of combat experience. Change would only introduce weakness and uncertainty. Sarah walked slowly around the chamber, her armor's sensors continuing to analyze the alien technology and the tactical situation. 3 civilizations, each one representing thousands of years of stagnation. Perfect in your own minds, but completely incapable of growth or adaptation. Dr. Webb lowered his plasma rifle slightly, though he kept it ready for immediate use. Then humanity arrives, a species that went from primitive agriculture to interstellar flight in less than 10,000 years. A species that has never stopped, changing, growing, adapting, improving. We terrified you, Lisa Park realized, not because we're violent, but because we represent everything you've chosen not to be. The chamber's environmental systems had been completely repaired by the human drones, but new modifications were becoming visible. The air itself seemed to shimmer slightly as microscopic machines worked to optimize the atmosphere for human physiology while maintaining life support for the aliens. You saw our rapid technological development and concluded we were dangerous, Sarah continued. You were right, but not in the way you thought. We're dangerous to your comfortable stagnation. Captain Rodriguez's image updated again. Ambassador, we're receiving communication requests from over 300 alien worlds. It appears word is spreading about the situation here. Jake Morrison checked his tactical display. Are they sending reinforcements? Negative. They're requesting diplomatic contact with Earth. It seems that several younger alien civilizations are very interested in humanity's rapid development capabilities. Unit 7 Prime processed this information with obvious distress. Impossible. The Galactic Council maintains strict oversight of all interspecies contact. The Galactic Council, Sarah said with a slight smile, appears to be having some technical difficulties at the moment. The holographic displays shifted to show the Council's main headquarters, a massive space station in a neutral star system. Human drones were visible throughout the facility, and alien officials were clearly struggling with widespread system failures. You see, Dr. Webb explained, while you were planning to eliminate humanity's leadership, we were planning something more comprehensive. War leader Thakmor looked confused and defeated. What could be more comprehensive than genocide? Revolution, Lisa Park said cheerfully. The tactical displays expanded to show the entire galaxy. Hundreds of alien civilizations were marked on the map, but Sarah could see that many of them were not aligned with the 3 major powers. Smaller species, younger civilizations, worlds that had been suppressed or ignored by the established galactic order. The Galactic Council wasn't just planning to eliminate humanity, Sarah explained. You were planning to eliminate the idea of humanity, the possibility that a species could develop rapidly, could change and grow and become something greater than what they started as. Jake Morrison nodded approvingly. But ideas are harder to kill than people, Captain Rodriguez's holographic projection showed communication channels opening throughout the galaxy. Ambassador, we're now in contact with over 50 non-council species. Many of them have been developing advanced technology in secret, afraid to reveal their capabilities because of council restrictions. The Andromedans have developed faster-than-light communication that makes our systems look primitive, he continued. The Helix Consortium has created matter compilers that can build anything from raw atoms. The Wanderer Alliance has ships that can travel between galaxies. Veltar's crystalline structure was continuing to crack. This is impossible. The Council monitors all technological development. No species can advance without our knowledge. No, species can advance without your knowledge, Dr. Webb corrected. But it turns out that dozens of species have been advancing without your permission. The galaxy map updated to show technological exchange networks that had been hidden from the major powers. Communication lines, trade routes, and research partnerships that existed completely outside the Council's control. You created a galactic civilization based on stagnation and control, Sarah said. But you forgot that intelligence and curiosity are fundamental properties of life. You can suppress them for a while, but you can't eliminate them. Lisa Park's equipment detected new energy signatures approaching Harmony Prime. We have incoming ships, but they're not showing Council identification codes. Those would be our new friends, Jake Morrison explained. Representatives from about 30 different species that have been waiting for someone to challenge the established order. Through the dome ceiling, they could see new ships arriving. These vessels were clearly built using technologies that the Council species had never seen before. Sleek, efficient designs that made the massive alien battleships look clumsy and outdated. The revolution isn't just about humanity, Sarah realized. We were just the catalyst. Unit 7 Prime made one final attempt to contact collective leadership. The consequences of this disruption will be catastrophic. Galactic civilization requires order and stability. Galactic civilization requires growth and change, Dr. Webb countered. Order and stability are just tools to enable that growth. When they become obstacles instead, they need to be replaced. War Leader Thakmor looked around the chamber, taking in the advanced human technology, the tactical displays showing the disabled fleet, and the communication channels that were reshaping. Galactic politics in real time. What happens now? He asked quietly. Sarah Chen looked at the 3 alien leaders who had planned to commit genocide against her species. Leaders who represented thousands of years of technological and social stagnation. Leaders whose comfortable, controlled galaxy was being transformed by the very species they had tried to eliminate. Now, she said, we write a real peace treaty. 3 hours later, the ceremonial chamber on Harmony Prime looked very different. The blast doors had been completely removed, replaced by an open archway that allowed free movement between the chamber and the rest of the station. The intimidating weapon systems had been disabled and converted into communication arrays. Most importantly, the room was no longer a prison designed to hold humanity's leaders while their species was exterminated. Sarah Chen sat at the central table, no longer wearing her diplomatic uniform. Instead, she wore the practical gray and blue outfit of Earth's Interstellar Defense Corps, with rank insignia that clearly identified her as a military commander rather than a simple ambassador. Across from her sat representatives from over 40 different alien species, many of whom had never been permitted to participate in galactic politics before today. Dr. Webb worked at a portable workstation, his advanced glasses projecting holographic displays that showed technical specifications being shared between human and alien engineers. The plasma rifle had been disassembled and stored, but the components remained visible as a reminder of how quickly the situation had changed. Lisa Park moved between different groups of aliens, her molecular disruptor having been converted into a universal translator that could handle the complex linguistic variations of species the Galactic Council had never bothered to learn about. Her warm smile was genuine now, no longer hiding deadly intentions behind diplomatic courtesy. Jake Morrison stood near the main communication array, coordinating with security forces from dozens of different worlds. His vibration blade had been sheathed, but his tactical displays showed defensive positions throughout the galaxy as the new alliance established itself. The three former council leaders sat together at a smaller table, no longer in positions of authority, but still present, as representatives of their peoples. Their expressions showed a mixture of defeat, confusion, and grudging respect for what humanity had accomplished. The terms of the new treaty are actually quite simple, Sarah explained to the assembled delegates. No species has the right to determine the fate of another species. No government can restrict technological development or cultural exchange between consenting civilizations. No military force can be used to enforce stagnation or prevent legitimate growth. Veltar's crystalline form had been repaired by human medical technology, but his light patterns remained subdued. These terms would fundamentally alter the structure of galactic civilization. The Council system has maintained peace for over 3,000 years. The Council system has maintained control for over 3,000 years, corrected Ambassador SCI-FI of the Andromedan Republic. There's a significant difference between peace and suppression. The Andromedans were tall, slender beings with skin that seemed to contain swirling galaxies of light. They had developed in isolation beyond the galaxy's edge, creating technology that made even human innovations look primitive. Their faster-than-light communication systems had made today's coordination possible. Unit 7 Prime's mechanical voice carried a note of resignation. The collective calculates that resistance to these changes would result in the complete dissolution of our current governmental structure. That's the idea, agreed Captain Mordun of the Helix Consortium. Your governmental structure was designed to prevent exactly the kind of cooperation we're seeing today. The Helix species looked like living metal sculptures, their bodies composed of flowing silvery material that could reshape itself at will. They had spent centuries hiding their matter compilation technology from the Council, afraid of being labeled as too dangerous for galactic society. War leader Thakmor spoke with the exhausted voice of a soldier who had finally accepted defeat. The Vortak military acknowledges that our strategic assumptions were fundamentally flawed. We underestimated not only human capabilities, but the extent of technological development throughout the galaxy. Dr. Webb looked up from his workstation. That's the thing about technological suppression. It doesn't actually stop innovation. It just drives it underground and makes it more dangerous when it finally emerges. The holographic displays around the chamber showed a galaxy that looked nothing like the carefully controlled territories the Council had maintained. Communication networks spanned between previously isolated worlds. Research partnerships were forming between species that had never been allowed to contact each other. Trade agreements were being negotiated using technologies that officially didn't exist. The question now, Sarah continued, is whether the established powers want to be part of this new civilization or remain isolated in their stagnant territories. Admiral Vexathara of the Wanderer Alliance leaned forward with interest. We've been traveling between galaxies for over 1,000 years, documenting civilizations and technologies beyond anything the Council ever imagined. We'd be happy to share that knowledge with anyone interested in genuine progress. The Wanderers appeared to be made of living starlight, their forms shifting between solid matter and pure energy. They had developed transportation technology that could cross intergalactic distances in days rather than millennia. Jake Morrison updated his tactical displays. The immediate security situation is stable. The former Council fleets have been completely neutralized but without permanent damage. Most of the crews are requesting asylum with the Alliance worlds rather than returning to their home systems. Lisa. Park finished configuring the Universal Translator and returned to the main table. Cultural exchange protocols are being established as we speak. It turns out that most species have been suppressing artistic and intellectual development along with technological innovation. There's going to be an incredible renaissance once information starts flowing freely. Captain Rodriguez's holographic image appeared above the communication array. Ambassador, we're receiving requests for Earth citizenship from over 12 million individuals across 47 different worlds. It seems that humanity's reputation for adaptability and growth has spread quite rapidly. Sarah smiled. Tell them we'll be happy to discuss immigration policies once we establish proper diplomatic relations with their home governments. She turned back to the assembled delegates. Which brings us to the practical implementation of this new treaty. The holographic displays shifted to show organizational charts and governmental structures. Instead of the rigid hierarchy the Council had maintained, the new alliance resembled a complex network with multiple centers of coordination and cooperation. Each species maintains complete sovereignty over their internal affairs, Sarah explained. But all species commit to open technological and cultural exchange with any other species that requests it. Veltar's light patterns brightened slightly. And if conflicts arise between species with very different values or goals, then we resolve them through negotiation, mediation, and compromise, answered Elder Thisara of the Quantum Collective. The same way intelligent beings have been resolving conflicts since the beginning of civilization. The Quantum Collective were beings of pure thought who existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They had been developing philosophical and mathematical concepts that could revolutionize understanding of reality itself, but the Council had forbidden them from sharing their insights. War leader Thakmor looked around the chamber at the dozens of species he had never known existed. What about military conflicts? There will inevitably be disputes that cannot be resolved peacefully. Jake Morrison gestured toward his tactical displays. Military action remains an option for legitimate self-defense, but any species that initiates aggressive action against another alliance member will face immediate response from the combined defense forces of all member worlds. Unit 7 Prime processed this information with visible calculation. A mutual defense pact covering 43 species with unknown technological capabilities. The strategic implications are comprehensive. That's the point, Dr. Webb said, as he shared technical specifications with a group of alien engineers. No single species, no matter how advanced, can threaten the alliance as a whole, but every species benefits from the combined knowledge and capabilities of all the others. The chamber filled with quiet conversation as representatives from different worlds began negotiating specific agreements. Research partnerships, trade deals, cultural exchanges, and defensive agreements were being formed between species that had been kept apart for millennia. Sarah walked over to where the 3 former council leaders sat together. You're welcome to join the alliance as equal members. Your peoples have valuable contributions to make, and their knowledge and experience would benefit everyone. Veltar looked up at her with genuine curiosity. After what we attempted to do, to your species you would trust us as allies? Trust has to be earned, Sarah admitted. But everyone deserves the opportunity to earn it. Unit 7 Prime's eyes flickered thoughtfully. The collective requires time to process these new parameters and adjust our social algorithms accordingly. Take all the time you need, Lisa Park said warmly. The alliance isn't going anywhere. War leader Thakmor stood up slowly. The Vortak will need to restructure our entire military doctrine. We've been preparing to fight wars of conquest and suppression. We have no experience with cooperative defense. Jake Morrison nodded respectfully. We'd be honored to help with that transition. Humans have considerable experience with changing military doctrines to meet new circumstances. Captain Rodriguez's image updated with new information. Ambassador, I'm receiving a priority communication from Earth. President Williams wants to address the alliance directly. Put her through, Sarah requested. The holographic display expanded to show President Williams in the Oval Office, but she was not alone. Behind her stood representatives from Earth's major nations, all wearing expressions of pride and determination. To our new friends throughout the galaxy, President Williams began, humanity is honored to be part of this historic alliance. We pledge to share our knowledge, our resources, and our commitment to growth and progress with all species willing to join us in building a better future. She paused, looking directly at the camera. We also want to be very clear about one thing. The galaxy is big enough for everyone to grow and thrive, but it's not big enough for anyone to prevent others from growing and thriving. The alien delegates listened to this message with expressions ranging from hope to uncertainty to genuine excitement. The old galaxy is ending, President Williams continued. A galaxy of stagnation, control, and artificial limitations. The new galaxy is beginning today. A galaxy of cooperation, innovation, and unlimited potential. As the communication ended, Sarah looked around the chamber at the representatives of dozens of worlds. species that ranged from crystalline energy beings to mechanical collectives to living starlight. Each one represented thousands or millions of years of development, but also thousands or millions of years of suppressed potential. The peace treaty was supposed to be a trap, she said to the assembled delegates. It was designed to eliminate humanity before we could threaten the established order. She gestured toward the holographic displays showing the new alliance taking shape across the galaxy. But it turns out that the established order was the real trap. A trap that caught every species in stagnation and prevented the galaxy from reaching its true potential. Dr. Webb saved his work and looked up from his technical discussions. Today we spring that trap. Lisa Park smiled as she watched alien children from a dozen different species playing together in the station's observation areas, their different biologies and technologies combining in ways that created entirely new possibilities. Today, she agreed, the galaxy grows up. Jake Morrison's tactical displays showed defense fleets from 43 different worlds taking positions throughout Alliance space, not to threaten or control, but to protect the growth and development that was finally being allowed to flourish. And tomorrow, he added, we find out just how far that growth can take us. Sarah Chen looked out through the chamber's transparent dome at the stars beyond. Somewhere among those stars was Earth, the world that had been targeted for extinction, because its people refused to stop growing and changing. Now that same refusal to accept limitations was spreading throughout the galaxy, carried by species that had been waiting for millennia for the chance to reach their true potential. The peace treaty had indeed been a trap, but in the end, it had trapped the right targets. Humanity had brought their weapons to a peace treaty, not because they were violent, but because they understood that true peace could only exist between equals. And sometimes, equality had to be earned at gunpoint. Now the galaxy would learn what humans had always known. The only thing more dangerous than a species willing to fight for their freedom was a species willing to share that freedom with everyone else. The stars seemed a little brighter as the new alliance began its work.